What is up, loyal lads and ladies? My name is Midnight Wolf, and welcome to a completely different style of video than what we're used to on this channel. Disclaimer here: so normally I like to try to keep my videos pretty lighthearted and have some fun and you know be a positive person on when it comes to Star Citizen. And I just have a couple things on my chest that I want to really talk about here today. And it kind of has been sparked by members of the Star Citizen community within certain YouTube videos, certain comments that have been made, either in the videos themselves or in the comment section of the said videos. That really has me just straight up concerned with Star Citizen and its longevity and its its ability to captivate an audience, to keep it strong. And some of the comments that and suggestions that people have been coming up with on particular ideas and features have become really loud here lately. And because of that, it really has me scared. It has me worried that CIG is going to hear them, think that they're the loud majority, and just cave. And I really want to at least come up with other alternatives that I think could possibly be better. So without further ado, let me just kind of show you what I mean, and hopefully, I can clear things up here and hopefully come up with some better ideas. So, I've pulled up a snapshot of my inventory at one of the landing zones. I think it's Mike L1. Um, and as you can see, there are a bunch of inventory slots that are dedicated to a bunch of random resources. And many of those resources are the exact same. The only difference is their quality. And a lot of people are kind of annoyed with this. They don't like that there is 1,000 possible quality options, because it's taking up their precious inventory. And I'm trying to be nice about it, but my issue with some of their suggestions are they're wanting to dumb it down. They're wanting to simplify the crafting system way too much. The issues that I'm having are they're wanting to change it to a tier system, or at the very least drop it down from 1,000 quality options to 100 quality options. And my immediate concerns with that are you're not going to have variety, the variety that is possible with 1,000. um, Item uniqueness out the window, because if everybody if okay, especially if they went to a tier system, like legendary gear or epic gear or rare gear or common gear or whatever they want to name the tier system, if they went to that type of system, then everybody's going to dive into the meta of, well, why would I ever get any of the other tiers other than legendary? There would be really hardly any incentive to having a unique item or weapon, um, from a rare resource or a high quality resource. Or they may try to produce mass quantities of something, so they're going to want to be able to maybe lower their criteria of quality a little bit to be able to mass produce. But if you do all of that within the tier system or the 0 to 100, you're really limiting the possibilities. Like with 1,000 quality, you're expanding it to where you have a spectrum, almost a full spectrum of possible outcomes when it comes to a weapon's or armor's performance, or really any other crafted item in the game. If it's all relying on the quality of these resources to determine the advantages that you're going to get with that particular item, then there needs to be a full spectrum. Otherwise, there will be those metas. And what the whole idea of having 0 to 1,000 is, it kind of creates this really an interesting dynamic within the game between players. You know, people are always going to be competitive and want to one up each other. And having 0 to 1,000 is going to make room for that. People want to be able to craft the best weapon they possibly can, or the best helmet that they possibly can. With 100, I mean, you can still kind of do it, but it's significantly limited. With a tier system, it is ridiculously limited. So I say all of that to say, like, I'm not going to just throw all of this out here and just leave it at that. I actually have kind of my own ideas of how we can simplify the inventory and still have a 0 to 1,000 quality to make this all work, to where we could still have the 1,000 qualities but not have a cluttered inventory. And it really is quite simple. And I do have a little spreadsheet thing that I've created. So I'll just go ahead and, you know, put that on the screen here real quick. See, I don't know what's going on with this particular webcam. So it's kind of weird on this particular screen. So I do apologize. So I'm a little ghost. But um real quick though, I really want to stress the importance of this, and how we can have better ways than dumbing down the game. And I think that this is a big way that we can still have the 1,000 quality items, but have a cleaner inventory. Now, don't pay too much attention to all the armors, all of the weapons, the food, misc. I just kind of threw some placeholder items in there and just kind of threw random gems in there to kind of prove the concept of where I'm going with here. So rather than having a bunch of Hadanite all throughout here, if taking up inventory, or Aphorite or Dolivine or Glacozite, I think it would be better if we just had one inventory slot dedicated to whatever is in that inventory. So if you have Hadanite, if you have multiple qualities of Hadanite, just store that information into a single inventory slot. And it really is quite simple. All you would have to do is either double click on it or whatever, and it brings up a sub inventory just like this, or a list of things like this. And you can also within that have different filters. Okay, I want the highest qualities first at the top, or I want the lowest qualities at the top. Or within this, you might could specify a range that you want to prioritize. Like, all right, I'm looking for from 0 to 100 quality. I don't know if that even exists, but if it does exist at such a low level, you would have a tab for that you can select to then filter the rest of it out and just show anything from 0 to 99, or from 100 to 199, or from 200 to 299, and so on and so forth. That would be such an easy way, and you would have all of the resources right there. And these gems or these resources would not take up anywhere near as much space as what it currently does. Yet you could still have 1,000 different quality options to choose from. And then you could also maybe have like a multiple select option, kind of like you would just drag, you would click on one and then maybe like shift click to another a part of the inventory, and you could be able to select multiples to then move over to another inventory if that's what you're wanting to do. If you're trying to like move, you know, groups of inventory, or groups of a resource over from one inventory to another, you could do all of that. And it literally it's this simple. I think like people are trying to go from one extreme to the next without really thinking of a solid compromise or a solid middle ground. I think that this is the best way. I mean, you can literally store all of these different qualities within one inventory slot, and you won't have to fill up an entire inventory full of this stuff. Um, Other ways that you can do it is, setting it up to where gyms have their own filter slot. Because in the current inventory screen, let me see if I can go back to that. Um, in the current inventory, you could see up there that there is actually filters, and they could probably add a filter that is specific to just resources. I don't. It may already have a slot, but have that be readily available. And if you want to, just filter that out. So that's already got in the game. But if you really want to, like, simplify it, having these submenus would help. It would just help tremendously. So that's my big thing. That's my big solution that I think would be incredibly beneficial to this. I think that most people would enjoy this kind of system if it was designed this way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I did a poor job at explaining this. I hope I did, and I hope it makes crystal clear sense. I really want to stress the importance of why I think that it is crucial of getting this right, because we need variety. We don't I don't want there to be metas in the game, or at least I want there to be limited metas if it's inevitable. I mean, because every game has metas. I want there to be ways to prevent that. I mean, because if you have different qualities from 0 to 1,000, and you put all of that information into, say, a gun with like a P4 AR, for example, it has maybe better uh, fire rate, recoil, effects, damage, whatever is the different stats. Now that's on a spectrum. Like in the current state, it's on a spectrum of what is being affected. But in a tier system, now you're only like able to improve an item so many times before it's at its max quality or its maximum potential, and there's no improving that. There's no increasing that, other than, of course, their tier system that they have that they want to do at some point as well. But having it be 0 to 1,000 just means that your gun can be unique, because like you may not find perfect quality of every single aspect of that gun. You may only be able to find like 700 had a night, and I don't know, 571 Hephaestus night. I think I'm saying that one correctly. You might only find like 750 um, iron, or whatever the resources that you're putting into that rifle. But you're spitting out a rifle that is unique. It has unique stats that is unique to that specific thing, that specific item. Um, and so that's kind of where the main thing, like the main kind of like main reasons why I want this. And here's kind of like a bonus thing, like a bonus idea that I think could be kind of interesting for for people who want to kind of learn crafting and kind of reasons for gathering different varying quality levels that I think could be kind of interesting, that could kind of change up the game a little bit. Um, One of those being, instead of you finding the highest quality, what if, okay, let's throw in a bit of a tier system, if you will, making it to where 0 from 99 is tier 1, 100 to 199 is tier 2, so on and so forth. and you have all the way up to like 1,000, but it's grouped by by each hundreds. Then what you could do maybe is make it to where certain specific items um, have better quality somewhere within that range. Now, that being said, like a 900 to 999 or 1,000, let's just say, from 900 to 1,000, that particular 100 range would be um the highest it can be. But to maximize that particular resource to get the highest amount, you may not necessarily need the 1,000. It may need to be closer to 957. Like throwing that as a random example of like, okay, so now like let's say the first item you craft is um like let's say going back to the P4 example, you craft a P4 and it has a special like you obviously get the higher tier or higher bracket of of in terms of quality of I hope I can explain this right. So let's say for a P4 AR, the best quality that you could possibly get for that is 957. But you can get quality that's high, like quality of a resource that's higher than that, right? But the further you're away from that 57, the 957, the further you are away from that, the less bonuses you get. So rather than you getting the highest quality, you're trying to actually find the prime quality that is perfect for that specific item, and it could be randomized for random different items, so that way it kind of encourages you to kind of R&D things, and so you don't know exactly what is the actual quality that you're trying to find. But as you craft, you start to kind of fine tune it. Like, okay, so the first one you craft, you find like 970 of a resource. So okay, that's slightly over that 957 that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so then the next time you're like, well, crap, let me dial it back a little bit. Let me find something that's 950. Um, and so then you put that in there and you find, okay, it's slightly closer. So we know that the perfect number, the sweet spot, if you will, is within the 950 and the 970 or whatever I said earlier. So then, okay, the next time you do it, uh, you might just drop down a little bit and say, okay, 962. You might just pick, some random numbers here. I'm just kind of spitballing kind of a bonus idea that could work within this. So the sweet spot would be 57. So you're constantly trying new things to eventually get to that sweet spot quality. And then once you find it, that's information that you could either sell or keep to yourself. Or obviously there's going to be Reddit posts of that, this, that, or the other. Eventually people will figure out the special recipes and whatnot. But what this will allow people to do is, if they want to engage in that type of gameplay, they can do the research and development of finding what is the sweet spot as opposed to the highest quality. I think that would be kind of cool. Um, so that's something that I think would be pretty interesting to say the least. But it still keeps the idea of having 1,000 quality options. Now let's say, so 57 is the sweet spot. So um for whichever tier you're whichever tier of my tier system, I should say, um that would be the sweet spot for that P4. So if you find a resource that's within the 800 range, the 799, or yeah, the 7 or the from the 800 to the 899, sorry, you're going to try to get to the 57, right? And so when you get to the 57, it's that 857 is clearly going to be worse than 957, but those would be the maximums within that particular range that you could get. If that makes sense. I hope I'm not like um confusing anybody. It's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like something like that might would be interesting. So it's not just about finding the best; it's more about finding the sweet spot in research and development. So, anyways, that's kind of my big rant, and hopefully solution. I once again, I hope CIG, if you ever decide to watch this, or anybody who has connections with CIG watches this, please get this kind of idea out there to them, because I want at least everything to be considered. I don't want them to hear what I think could be the loud minority um, on that particular subject, because we don't know. We're hearing are all of these people who are saying that um, they want a smaller amount of qualities, and I feel like there's a lot more opinions out there that are not being shared or not being um, made available to people. So that's kind of the whole point of this video, honestly. So I really do thank you guys for taking the time in your day to watch this little rant and hopefully solution, um, potential solution, I should say. Um, if you did, it would really help a lot to like this video. And if you like the Star Citizen content, you like um, other content, like I'm gonna try to start up uh, a couple of other series here on this channel, like Space Engineers 2 and Vane, are just a couple of other projects that I'm gonna be working on. Um, if you're here for that kind of stuff, feel free to subscribe. Once again, it would greatly help this channel, and help get hopefully entertaining content out to you guys. So all that to say, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. My goal is to have another Star Citizen stream sometime this week. So stay tuned for that. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.